Hello dosto, my name is Deepak and I'm a tax code advisor. Today I'm going to talk about a basic yet very important step for setting up your business entity. Or if you already have a business entity, then you should definitely pay attention to this step because miscalculating this step can have major consequences from a liability point of view, from tax point of view, and perhaps just growth of your business can also hinder because of this alone. And I'm talking about the address that you use for your business. Now, typically speaking, business owners use multiple addresses for multiple reasons. For example, you probably have a specific address to act as your registered agent address. You might have another address for your banking needs, and you might have another address for clients to mail you checks, and you might have another address for your rest of the mailings. And in some cases, all of those addresses are jumbled up into one place. So I'm going to break it down as to why it might be a good idea for you to have multiple addresses, how that can help you grow your businesses. And if you decide to not follow my advice and just stick with one address for all of your business needs, then what kind of troubles that can get you in. So we'll talk about all of those matters. So those of you guys who are new to the channel, my name is Deepak. I'm a tax code advisor. I talk about things that impact your business, things that can help you save taxes, things that can help you build a good, solid retirement. I talk about financial market updates, real estate market updates, and obviously immigration-related updates, but most importantly, tax updates. And today we are discussing why you should not use your home address for business purposes. So first of all, let's start with a registered agent. So when you register an entity, no matter which state, almost every state will require you to have a registered agent, and you cannot have a virtual registered agent, meaning you cannot just simply have an office like a mailbox or something in a state and use that as your registered agent. Why? Because the registered agent does a lot more. The registered agent should be able to receive a mail on your behalf from courts, from if somebody sent you a subpoena, or if IRS or state wants to get hold of you, or something wrong with the registration of your company or whatnot. So any of those legal documents that you may get from different parties are delivered to your registered agent. And states want to have somebody local. They don't want you to, let's say, imagine you have LLC set up, let's say in state of Texas, and you live in California, and you say, no, I'm going to be the registered agent for this company in California. State says, wait a minute, you're in California. We don't want to deal with California laws. We don't want to deal with anything there. We need you to have an office here. We need you to have a registered agent here in Texas because we want to talk to you in Texas. So most states will require you to have a registered agent in that state. That means it's somebody who had a physical presence in that state, somebody who has an office in that state, somebody who's willing to accept the documents on your behalf, somebody who's willing to forward those documents to you. So that's number one. Oftentimes I see people use their name as a registered agent. Well, if you use some sort of service and you're using your name as a registered agent, unless you live in that state, you might be actually in violation anyways, and that registered agent might be invalidated to begin with. But if you are in your own state and you're using yourself as a registered agent, that's okay. You can obviously do that. But now all of a sudden you're telling the whole world that it's your company and you are the registered agent. So perhaps from a privacy point of view, that is not a good idea to begin with. Number two, why it's not a good idea is all of a sudden, all these legal documents that I just talked about, they will be coming to your home. Do you really want those documents to come to your home? Do you want your parents, your kids, your spouse to be able to see these documents, have those kind of conversations? Maybe not, right? So probably for most of us, it's not a good idea to use ourselves as a registered agent. In matter of fact, many times clients ask me, can I be the registered agent? And I respectfully refuse because I don't want to deal with that headache of mailing and forwarding. I'm too busy with IRS to begin with dealing all kind of tax issues. So I don't want to add on to that burden. There are third-party registered agent services, and many of them I use personally for my clients, and they work just fine. So you can consider using anything that you like. Now comes the business address. So for business address, people sometimes require a physical address for the bank purposes. They go to a local bank, let's say go to Chase or Bank of America or whatever your favorite bank, maybe Wells Fargo these days. Wherever you like to go, you go there and you talk to a teller, and teller say, wait a minute, you got to have a physical address in the state in order for you to open up a bank account. So what do? You give them your home address. Why? Because you don't really have an office yet. So give them the home address, and then they print that address on the check, and then you go online on Google and you register your business there, and you use the same address because you think that you have already given that to a bank, so why not to somebody else? And then all of a sudden that address starts to float around, and your home address now all of a sudden has become the primary business address. And this is where all the trouble starts. Now, so I'm going to give you 10 problems I see whenever we are talking about using home addresses for business purposes. Problem number one is privacy. So your home address is really should be private. You don't want your clients to showing up at your home address. You don't want scammers, solicitors, people looking to do business with you start knocking on your door and say, hey, I'm looking for XYZ company, and they're meeting with your kids or your family members. That can be traumatic at some times, if not problematic. So that's perhaps the number one reason why you don't want to use your home address. You should leave that separate. Second issue is obviously you are in business because you want to grow that business. You want to make more money than you did last year, and you want to use those money for your safe retirement. But if you're working off your home, and which is fine, I'm not against working from home, that's great. What I'm talking about is using that address. Do you really need to publicly tell everyone that this is your address? I mean, can't you, for example, get a co-working space at a site for $100 a month and you still work out of your home? And then when you go online, everywhere you have that co-working address. So at least nobody is knocking on your door. So please, I wanted to make that clear. I'm not saying that you should not work from home. That's not the point. The point is using that address publicly can be problematic. So my advice would be is if you use some sort of like a co-working site, that's a better solution, because on the website, on your website, on Google or anywhere else, you look like a more professional company. These days, people don't need to come to your site to find out who you are. They can literally go on Google Maps and see it. I think it looks so much better if it was a co-working site versus if it was a personal residence. You want to avoid that as much as possible. It just makes you look bigger. It makes you look more credible. It looks like you have a physical presence there, and people will be more likely to do business with you. Another I wouldn't say really common, but sometimes I see this, is people are into problems because of local zoning restrictions. I don't think people really check that. Even I really don't. So I don't really make a big deal out of it, although I do advise my clients to make sure that they're not violating any local zoning restrictions. Sometimes that can happen and that can get you in trouble. But the one that concerns me the most is the liability. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. Only thing I'm getting is a mail. Nobody's coming to my place. How can that have any liability on me? All right, so I'm going to walk you through a scenario. If you use that address everywhere, don't you think that your customers sort of like assume that that is your place of your business? Because you've been telling them, right? You've been on your Facebook account, on your Google profile, on your LinkedIn. That's the address you're telling everyone. This is your business. So if there is any liability that arises out of your business, don't you think more than likely they will try to go after that primary residence as well? Right? I'm not talking about whether they win the lawsuit or not. That's a whole different story. I'm just saying from their point of view, they're thinking that this location perhaps is part of the business, and they're going to attach that to the lawsuit. Even if they don't win, you might not be able to sell the property, you might not be able to finance that property, and you will be forced to negotiate with that party because your property is linked with that business lawsuit. So that's another reason why I know it's kind of far-fetched, but so are the lawsuits. When that happens, it will become a nightmare. So I think that's another reason why you probably should avoid using the home address for business purposes. Last month, I had a client who thought that only reason he has to use the business address, his home address for business purposes, is because he wants to write off home office. It's such a big mistake. You can write off home office as long as you have an exclusive space that you use for business in your home. That exclusive space can be your garage, it could be your kitchen, it could be your bathroom, it could be your bedroom, it could be a closet. It could be any space in your business as long as it is exclusive for business use. As long as you can prove that, you are able to write off home office. It had nothing to do with if that business address is registered with the state, if that business address is registered with a bank, or you have published it somewhere online. None of those registry requirements are there. Only requirement is that you use the space exclusively for business purposes. Another problem sometimes I come across is not as much anymore, but it used to be a way bigger few years ago. And that has something to do with physical mail. So you can imagine we get a lot of junk mail, but now all of a sudden that you have this address for your business as well, and everybody is trying to solicit your business by sending you a mail. Now, two problems happen. Number one, your business mails and your personal mails getting kind of mixed up. So you're having a hard time prioritizing which mails to open. Number two, most people don't even have that big of a mailboxes anymore. People have these small, tiny mailboxes. And if you're getting tons of mail, that can get those mailboxes very crowded and might even cause you to lose mail. So big problem there. And then people, when they know that this is also a home address, then they have a little bit more creativity how they can trick you. I've seen all kind of mails where people ask you that, hey, deposit the money here or take advantage of this. All kind of scenarios spammers and solicitors use to get your attention. Your insurance company could also give you some grief, because when you sign up for that insurance, you didn't tell them that it was a business. You might have told them that you have a personal use of that property. And now all of a sudden that you're telling the state that it's a business, and let's say if some liability happens, now you file an insurance claim, and insurance company says, wait a minute, we didn't give this insurance for business purpose. We only gave it for personal reasons. Now, once again, whether they win or you win, that's a whole different story. All I'm saying is you have just given them an ammo. You have given them one more reason to dispute the claim. Eventually you will probably prove to them that whatever liability happened, it didn't happen because of your business. It happened because it just happened, nothing to do with your business, and more than likely you'll be able to claim successfully. But in the meanwhile, they're just giving you a headache. They're giving you a hard time for no reason, just because you're using your home address for business purposes. You might even have a hard time scaling your business. If you need to bring on partners, you need to bring on investors, you might even have a hard time if you don't use a proper business address. And honestly speaking, if you're using home at your business address, then you're really mixing your personal life with business life quite a bit. Obviously, we do that anyway when we're working from home, but when we start to mingle all the paperwork together, obviously it's your business. Your spouse is not expecting to be involved in that business. Your parents are not, your kids are not. So all of a sudden, all these mails are just getting mixed up with your business emails. That might frustrate a lot of people in your family as well. And lastly, I'll leave you with compliance risk. Especially in certain industries, depending upon what kind of work you are doing, maybe there are restrictions as to who should have access to those documents. So if you're using your home address for business purposes and you're getting physical mail there, that can put your compliance at risk. For example, I'm a tax advisor, and if I start getting my customers' mail here at home, and my kids and my wife are able to open that mail, what do you think, how does that would look like to my clients? Not a good idea. So obviously we don't do that. We require all our clients to upload documents in a secure portal. But I'm just saying an example. You could be a doctor, you could be a chiropractor, you could be some other coach and whatnot, and your customers might expect you to keep their information private. Now, if you're a consumer and you're looking to do business, then you want to pay attention to whether this person is working out of home or they have a professional site. How would your documents will be handled if you deliver to them? Because obviously, if they're not taking care of this part, then they are leaving your documents at risk. If somebody is able to drop a mail in their residential mailbox, what is stopping from their family members from opening that mail? Almost nothing. So my advice to my clients usually is that do not use home address for registered agent services or for business address. You should get a third-party addresses, third-party virtual mailbox, people who are willing to scan your mail and email it to you on regular basis. And for registered agent, you use a third-party registered agents who can manage it. And if there is any state document or legal document, they're willing to forward those to you. These days, these services are fairly cheap. They're not that expensive, should be part of your business expense. And yes, you can write them off as your expense as well. And the last tip I will leave you with this is that a lot of people ignore a quality advice when it comes down to setting up a business entity. I'm seeing more and more people trying to use and do it yourself model. And yeah, they obviously save some money on consulting and all that. But overall, it's not really that beneficial to them. For example, one silly mistake, you do that and now you're trying to change all those addresses. All of a sudden, that creates all kind of marketing problems for you, some extra cost with changing the addresses. This one little tip could have helped you to begin with. Sometimes these online services don't tell you about what compliance documents you need to file. They don't help you with setting a proper board of advisors, board of directors, annual meetings, how to structure the structure properly so that way you save the taxes. They certainly don't help you with a comprehensive operating agreement and so forth. There's so many things that you should be paying attention to when you're setting up a business, and we are here to help you with all of those. And trust me, we are very reasonable, probably one of the most reasonable people you will find in the country who can provide you with quality advice and get the job done the right way. So if there's anything I can do to help you, then please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Just go to taxcodeadvisors.com and just reach out to me from there. I'll also leave a link below this video so you can set up an appointment with me using that link as well. Thank you so much for spending your last 15 minutes with me. If you're new to this channel, this is the first time you're seeing my video, then let me remind you that I talk about various updates in our tax, finance, real estate, and immigration. So all of that information is usually relevant to my clients. They're looking for updates in these fields, so that's what I talk about. But if you have a tax question, if you have something that you would like to talk about, I'm open to it. Please leave it in the comments and we'll try to answer that for you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.